Hello and welcome to the first of a three-part webinar series by Naviant on Accounts Payable, Managing Disruption Through Automated AP. My name is Ed Majeska and I will be your host. For a very quick review for anyone new to Naviant, we are a 35-plus-year-old BPM consulting and solution provider focusing on enterprise content services platform. The software that we will be referencing today is developed by Hyland Software, and Naviant is Hyland's premier global solution partner. Specifically, the Hyland software is OnBase, which is a single enterprise content management platform that is comprised of a full range of capabilities, including capture and content management and process management, case management, reporting, search, and much, much more. Many of these we'll be discussing in greater detail today relative to accounts payable automation. As an enterprise platform, OnBase is typically leveraged throughout an organization to complement and automate many of the document, content, and case management processes that you might have. But today, we're going to focus strictly on accounts payable. And these are the items that we're going to cover. So let's get started. Big question, why automate accounts payable in general? It seems like an obvious question. In 2020, AP has its share of typical business disruptions. These typical objectives for accounts payable are simply do more with less, manage smaller budgets, improve document and process management, all the while improving visibility and reporting. That sounds easy, right? It's not, and that's why you're here attending today. But then this worldwide incident occurred and these old objectives didn't go away, but we have new priorities. Our priorities have actually expanded. This is what people are talking about, the new normal. And for accounts payable, these priorities aren't just during this crisis, but they've essentially created new expectations for day forward business operations. You know, we have deployed remote workers rapidly. We have content that we need to secure and ensure continuity of business. We have these customers and vendors that we need to expand and have digital services provided. And we are looking at, migrating these core systems to the cloud to make them more secure and reliable. And the good news is all of the solutions we're going to talk about today support all of these new normal objectives. Because in AP, the struggle is real. Paper and manual data intensive tasks lead to high AP transaction costs and increased expectations and delays in processing time to pay an invoice. In fact, 39% of AP professionals report that invoice volume has increased to 10% in the past year, and 24% increase that is greater than 10%. 50% of our invoices still arrive by paper in email, and a third are in email. And regardless of the size of your organization, finance teams report that 50% of their time is spent on transaction processing. And finally, nearly 50% of all AP professionals believe that invoice processing will actually become more complex going forward. And this was before the recent business continuity events that put many of us at home on lockdown. So current events have certainly disrupted our normal processes and forced us to be more creative and efficiently, and honestly may likely become the new standard way of doing business day forward. So the fact is the value of AP automation is real. The industry average for invoice processing time is almost 9 days. It's a range of 14 to 4 days. But with a sophisticated, integrated, and properly designed AP automation solution that uses content management services, the averaging process time reduces to 4 hours. And early payment discount capture rates increase from an average of 43% and even a low of 9% to up to 75% with content management. And invoice processing costs decrease from an average of $10 and a high of $23 to pay one invoice to a cost under $2. So how can Naviant help is the big question. And you really need to consider whether you're ready for a destination or a journey. Both are good, and it depends on where you start and what's best for your organization. So take this little drive with me. Some organizations begin with the simple goal of getting rid of paper and creating a digital file room, and that's great. And from there, these scanned images can be linked to your ERP system, your accounting system, and from there you might even consider scanning early in the process and automating routing and invoice reviews. But what if you could do more? And we're going to talk about all of these today. What if you could strategically flatten those mountains in the distance and manage those curves as well? I mean, we can implement advanced workflows that could handle GL coding and PO exceptions and automated schedule of authority hierarchies. We can automate exception handling, such as mismatches and vendor management. We can eliminate manual data entry by using tools like intelligent OCR or robotic process automation to extract and validate and post transaction data. We can create a vendor portal to provide self-service options to upload invoices and view processing status. We can even report on those trends and cash flows and vendor habits and staff productivity. So the big question then becomes, what's really right for you? And this truly does depend on your organization. If we categorize these options into levels, level one, option one, is really focused on getting rid of that paper and perhaps linking those images to your ERP. And there's definitely value to that. Option two then shifts late capture to early capture, and it automates many of those workflow processes and reviews and approvals. But option three takes all of these concepts, or as many as you're ready for, and fully optimizes them in a best-in-class AP solution. And this is that fully optimized option that we're going to explore further today. With this option, invoices are captured, they flow into OnBase, optical character recognition takes over, and if everything matches and within tolerances, those documents actually post automatically into your ERP, and anything needing approvals or exceptions can then push out through email or through your mobile devices, or be managed through your native ERP to manage those exception processing. So I would encourage you, as we go through this, to think about your organization. Take what you like, leave the rest. The good news is that with OnBase, all of these capabilities exist, and you can expand on them and add to them at any time when you're ready. So if you're ready, let's break it down. So I am going to look at these and share with you these capabilities for AP automation, the most common across these 6 categories. And we're going to start with capture. So if you receive paper invoices, then you need to scan them, preferably in batches to be the most productive. And the use of barcodes, or technically patch code separators, prior to and during scanning can further assist with AP processing and indexing. Invoice images can then be manually indexed, but external database lookups can be used to reduce manual data entry by entering a single unique value, let's say like a PO number, and then OnBase can look up the remaining transaction values from your ERP. But if intelligent capture, intelligent optical character recognition is used, and it is in that option 3 fully optimized approach, this removes those things, the need for items like document separation, manual document classification, manual data entry. And we're going to definitely talk about intelligent optical character recognition in a few minutes. For those invoices that you receive from vendors by email, a centralized email account can be set up that is automatically monitored by OnBase, and when those invoices arrive, they are simply automatically captured by OnBase, and key email data such as date and from and to and subject are also captured, and that invoice then is processed directly into workflow, just as if you had scanned that paper invoice. And finally, from a capture perspective, for optimal self-service, a OnBase vendor portal can be established with authenticated access. And once your vendor logs in, they can upload invoices directly, no more paper and scanning or emails. They can review their invoice status and process. They can search for processed invoices. They can even communicate and request changes to their profile or contracts via electronic forms. Now, let's move on and spend a few minutes briefly talking about intelligent optical character recognition. OnBase has many OCR options, and Naviant has more options, but the premier solution within Highland platform is Brainware. And Brainware is an advanced and patented artificial intelligence platform that can read an invoice just like a human without templates, and it's language agnostic. It will identify or classify, if you will, the type of document that it is. Is it an invoice, a packing slip, a remit? It'll extract and validate that information across your ERP transaction data, and it provides verification options based on your business rules or data discrepancies. The real value here is eliminating manual data entry and improving the flow and process of that information. This is a quick example of a Brainware user experience for validating exceptions. The invoice image on the right-hand side highlights the data that has been extracted, and the left side shows the data for processing. As you can see here, Brainware is identified automatically. This is a PO invoice. Brainware has extracted and validated header information, things like invoice number, PO number, totals. Brainware has identified the vendor information, and Brainware has even identified and extracted and validated line item detail, all without templates. So for a more comprehensive overview on intelligent OCR, please join us for part 2 of 3 in this AP webinar series. But I'm going to move on now, and once that invoice image and potentially that data is extracted and validated, it needs to be processed. And this is where OnBase Workflow comes in. OnBase Workflow provides a highly configurable, robust process management engine for routing and review and escalations based on your business rules. Workflow provides this predictable business control to your processes, and when content enters Workflow, these data elements and rules can be evaluated and automated for decision making. For example, non-PO invoices and PO exceptions can be sent to business users to review and validate. They can enter their geocoding, manage exception processing, and more. Timers and reminders can also be used to assure that the work remains visible and that it's done on time. OnBase also provides options to automate the complex schedule of authority rules and matrices that you might have, these hierarchies. So this is the OnBase Workflow Approval Management tool. It's an easy to use tool by the business owners, not system administrators. So it's simple to use, it's simple for the business owners to manage and update their users, their approval paths, and any rules for approval management. This is just a quick screen example of the user experience that, again, the business process owners, through point and click, no coding, no scripting, they can quickly manage and update these users and paths and rules themselves without needing to call IT, accessing OnBase configuration, or making any changes to your ERP. Here is an example in Workflow of an AP processor or a clerk's user experience. The invoice review lifecycle is highlighted on the top left. The inbox on the middle displays the AP processor's work queue. Any related items to this invoice are displayed on the bottom left, and the invoice image obviously is displayed on the right. Now, depending on the action required or permitted, the AP processor's task options are located immediately above the image in the ribbon bar. So things like edit and viewing distribution, submitting for approval, reject, or exception management. For invoices that need review in your workflow process, for people like your day-to-day supervisors or managers or executives, they might need something more convenient or intuitive. And because they're likely casual users of this review process, OnBase can conveniently integrate directly into their Outlook ribbon bar, someplace where they live probably all day. OnBase can automatically send an email to alert the reviewer that there is something for them to do. And after opening that email, the user will be presented with instructions. But more importantly, OnBase can provide their workflow tasks and access to the image directly from within that email message. The button at the bottom of right can provide access to the image stored in OnBase, including any related documents. And then the reviewer can approve or reject that invoice, and OnBase can even prompt the reviewer to complete any required GL coding or exception clearing prior to any further approvals or finalization processing by AP. Another option is OnBase Mobile. and this is available for Android, iPhone, or iPad. The OnBase mobile app provides access to a wide range of enterprise OnBase content and processes for your mobile staff. But specific to AP workflow, users can view their work queues, they can select the item and identify the transaction data, they can view the invoice document and related documents, they can review and enter their GL coding or exception information, and again, they can access their tasks and approvals right from their mobile device. Something new in OnBase EP2 is the AP Invoice Approval app. Now, this is AP specific, and it provides a persona-based web app to approve and deny invoices from anywhere. It's really meant to cater to various AP approvers on multiple platforms or multiple devices. It allows the users a visual overview through an invoice dashboard, and there's even an invoice journey widget, which I'll show you in a moment, to view the progress of those invoices at a glance. Now, this is a great add-on to people with existing AP solutions or as part of a new deployment for a new solution. Here is an invoice dashboard through this interface that shows infographics related to approval of invoices. For example, distribution of pending invoices by due date, past approved and rejected invoices, and even on the right, critical items that might need immediate attention. When I choose a particular invoice in this invoice review view, the AP approver can now see the invoice, they can view that invoice journey, they can review header and GL line item, and they can approve and reject their invoices. And as I mentioned earlier, this same AP specific app is mobile ready, and it's available with a responsive design for your users. So now let's shift to integration. Depending on your line of business application, OnBase has many integration options available: SAP, Workday, Oracle, PeopleSoft, Acumatica, Dynamics, and more. I mean, we could spend hours just discussing integration options, and the odds are we have probably worked with your ERP or accounting system. So OnBase has both integration tools for data level and screen level interactions. We have purpose-built certified modules for SAP, Oracle, and more. And we have productivity tool integrations. OnBase integration options include the ability to do things like retrieving documents, storing documents, creating electronic forms, initiating workflows, creating correspondence. We can update and sync index values. We can even automatically post transaction data after workflow processing. One example, which actually requires no coding or scripting changes to your accounting software, is OnBase Application Enabler. OnBase Application Enabler allows the ability to retrieve documents and folders and records and index documents in an automated way, create forms and correspondence. It does a lot of great things, again, from a non-coding standpoint. For more sophisticated integrations, the OnBase Unity API Toolkit or Enterprise Integration Server can be used to do more functionality like storing documents, providing keyword maintenance, updating business applications, and if all other options fail, Naviant is a proud partner of Cryon Systems Robotic Process Automation, which can be used to automate manual tasks related to the collection or entry of data to legacy systems where there aren't integrations or APIs that exist. So this includes the ability to interact with existing OnBase workflows. Now, once this content is stored in OnBase, process owners and managers and other staff may simply need to search or locate content for vendors, questions, or research, or looking at workflow history or status reviews. And the OnBase personal page provides a personal dashboard for users to set up shortcuts to common searches. And by selecting the appropriate document type and keywords, users can quickly find documents from a hit list, getting high-level information that match their search criteria. And then by selecting a specific result, that invoice is presented, and then with permissions, the user can even see the entire document history and workflow status. Or through that same Outlook integration option I discussed earlier, users can also search for invoices through their Outlook ribbon bar, or again, through their mobile device. I mentioned OnBase Application Enabler earlier as this non-coded powerful integration option. This is an example of an accounting ERP application where OnBase images can be retrieved through a variety of methods, either a mouse click on a data field, a document link, or here on the bottom left-hand corner, a floating live tile. By hovering over that live tile, the user is now made aware that there are OnBase documents linked to this transaction. And by clicking on that invoice item, the image is displayed without the user ever needing to leave their ERP. For other applications like SAP, OnBase has purpose-built certified integrations that include the ability to retrieve documents directly from the SAP Business Object drop-down box, top left, and this option will then display the standard SAP hit list through the attachment list, and the OnBase documents are then again displayed and available for viewing. And finally, you can't manage what you don't measure. So OnBase has various reporting options, and these dashboards provide visibility to system and business process health. We can create dashboards through point and click designers. You don't need to be an IT programmer, and the data can be presented in a variety of graphical formats, including charts and graphs and scorecards and gauges and maps. These are dynamic and interactive, and this is just another example of items that are reportable, like workflow processing times or work performance by AP processors. So that was a lot and very quick to deconstruct, and now let's put it all back together and see it in action, actually in a demo. I'm going to start this demo from the OnBase personal page. This is that dashboard with shortcuts, and prior to this step, imagine that brain where invoices have captured and extracted data, and those invoices have now flowed into OnBase for workflow. In this example, you can see now that I have invoices that have been posted to the ERP, some that need coding and approval, some that need exception handling. But over here in my posted to ERP queue, the green box, I have an invoice for Van Inc. that went straight through from capture and posted automatically into my ERP. I can open that invoice by clicking on this link. And now I see that my keywords have been updated with the voucher ID. This tells me that a voucher has been created in my ERP. Now I can view that invoice transaction and image directly from my ERP. In this case, my ERP is SAP, and I can see that invoice transaction has been created. And as I mentioned before, I can view that image of this invoice through a link embedded in my ERP through this attachment list. So I can go to the attachment list, click on the link, and that document is displayed from OnBase without ever having to leave SAP. Now, I'm going to go back to my personal page, and invoices that need coding and approval are in their queues. Here, I'm going to launch an invoice from Tulsa Personnel, and then I'm going to use a workflow task to launch the GL coding form to display distribution. Now I can work side by side with the invoice, where I can enter my valid GL codes here on the form. So I can add a new row, I can enter an account unit, I can enter a line amount and currency and any other data that I need to fill in to complete my GL coding. And after I provide this information, I will simply save the form right here and save and close. And then I can use a task above my invoice to submit for approval and send it on its way for final approval. So now let's talk about approvals. In this example, notice that that invoice for Tulsa Personnel is now in that awaiting approvals index up here. Switching roles, I'm going to play the role of Cindy Smith, who's going to approve that, but not through OnBase directly. I'm going to go to Outlook. So here in Outlook, Cindy has received a notification that tells her she has an invoice that's been received, and she has instructions on how to approve the invoice. In this case, Cindy can see her workflow tasks over here on the right inside her email message. If she chooses, on the bottom, she can show that primary item and display the invoice. And once she's reviewed that invoice, she can simply click on that approval task to approve the invoice and move it on to any other additional approvers. So now let's look at exceptions. This pink tile for purchasing line item matching, in this scenario, I have an invoice where the line items for the invoice didn't pair to the PO line items on my ERP. So here I'm going to use a task to launch a form, and once I have the form displayed, I can see all the PO line items here in this bottom grid, and I can see that that first line item didn't pair successfully because it doesn't show a line item. This tells me I have to look up data in my ERP. So without leaving OnBase, I can click on this magnifying glass where the PO line item should be, and I can query my ERP data and choose the line item which matches my line, which is the first one. So by clicking on this, that completes my line pairing. It is that simple. I can save it and move on where it will attempt for posting. So I'm going to go back to my personal page now. And from a reporting perspective, an AP processor has full visibility to where all invoices sit in workflow at any point in time. Here on the right, I have a purple tile, which is a shortcut to my AP invoice processing report. Once I launch that, several graphs and details make up my report. Starting at the very bottom, I have a grid where I can see all of the invoices in workflow and their respective status. But if I go up to this pie graph, I can now filter my results to a specific workflow queue. Here I'm going to choose the purple purchasing line item matching, and now I have new results on the bottom because there's only one item in that queue. I can click on that item, view the invoice, and while that invoice is open, I can take actions or complete my tasks. So in summary, reports are just interactive, but they're also configurable and shareable. And common reports include things like accrual reports and user productivity reports and vendor reports. So finally, I'm going to end this demo by searching for invoices and related documents. Here I have a shortcut to document search. And when I launch this search, I could now search by any of these keywords. So let's say I'm going through an audit and the auditor requires a certain set of invoices. For demo purposes, I'm going to leave this open-ended and search with no data. So I pull back all of the document types that make up my AP process, and now I can actually filter those. Let's say I want to look at PO invoices. I can filter them there or up on the top. So if I choose those, now I only see my 23 PO invoice items. Now here are all those documents that fit that document type, but I could actually filter this further, let's say by vendor name, and now I can see those 4 results for Office Supply Warehouse. I can then go through and highlight them by just simply clicking on them, and I can then right-click and share them with my auditor by either emailing them, printing them, or even saving them to file to share with that auditor. So I realized this was a very quick demo of many of the capabilities that we just discussed. If you'd like to see more or have a personal demo, please reach out to me. So as we close this webinar, before I leave you today, I wanted to review a few important resources for you to learn more. I obviously mentioned we have upcoming webinars, the next being Intelligent OCR, and then finally one specific to SAP, Content and Process Management. You can register for those on our website. And speaking of our website, Naviant has a brand new, recently redesigned site with a wealth of information on all sorts of areas, including accounts payable, customer spotlights, videos, case studies, and white papers for existing customers. The Highland community even has more information available for AP solutions. There's technical resources and overviews and community chat discussions. And if you really want to try this out, existing customers can also test to drive a sample OnBase invoice processing solution at the try.highland.com